Welcome to Garage Gym Athlete Ask Me Anything. It's pretty simple. I'll be answering questions from the thousands of athletes that follow our daily programming. If you have a question or topic you want submitted, go to garagegymathlete.com/AMA. Let's get started. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Jared Moon here with Joe Courtney. What's up, Joe?
Hey, what's up?
Not much. How are you doing?
Keep on keeping on.
Everything
is the same, as you can see.
Yep, I told you I wouldn't talk about your beard, and I'm not going to. So We can just get straight to doing an Ask Me Anything. So we got a question from Evan recently, and he wanted to know about being a hard gainer. So he's going to state that in his question. So hard gainer is just someone who has trouble putting on muscle mass or weight in general. I considered myself a hard gainer for a very long time, and I'll talk about that a little bit more, but here's the actual question. He said, I'm wondering about your advice on breaking through plateaus. I am what you would conventionally be called a hard gainer, trying to gain muscle weight and was seeing good progress, but now have been stagnant for a few months. I train full EO3 schedule, eat decently, but not perfectly, and try to sleep and otherwise take care of myself, think EO3 elements. Is the answer just to eat more and deal with extra body fat, or is there something else I can do? Any general advice for plateau busting or advice for hard gainers in general? So I think, Joe, you might answer in general terms of plateaus, and I can answer maybe specific to hard gainers. You want to go first?
Yeah, that's fine. Let's just talk on a hard gainers. I never really cared about like the scale stuff when I was doing the bodybuilding thing because I was always really skinny and I always didn't have very low body fat anyway. So I just kind of kept lifting and it was fine. I was working on doing both things at once. But as far as plateauing in general fitness and stuff and in like strength gains and things, is you kind of have to change things up. A lot of times people will stick to strength and programs that they know works. You know, you'll do 12, 16 weeks of work and you'll keep going up and up. And then you just think you want to keep on doing more of that same thing. And it's like, okay, well, if I'm starting to plateau at some, then I'll just do a little bit more of what I'm already doing. But you need to actually like flip it and do something completely different. Not like totally different, but if you were training more hypertrophy, then you might need to go and do a little bit more dynamic stuff, a little bit more maybe tempo things, just some sort of changing up your lifting so that your body, you're not working your muscles the same way that you were before from a progression standpoint, not necessarily a weight standpoint.
Yeah. Now, I mean, this used to be my hobby. I would, let's just go back to college. So I was in ROTC in college because I had every intent on being an Air Force officer, being a pilot. And so that's why I did those things. And like my normal college schedule was almost like in season for me because I was a physical training leader, like even in college, like every semester as a cadet. And so I always needed to be really fit. I always wanted to do really well on the physical fitness tests. So anyway, I would ride those months at a much leaner weight because I needed to be able to run, calisthenics, all those things. But then the summer became a game for me of like, how much muscle can I gain in this time frame? So I got really good at it. I could pack on a lot of weight in a very difficult time period. But when I first started lifting, going back to high school, I could not put on weight. It was very difficult, and it takes a lot of work to gain that muscle. Now, I have to start with an asterisk of just, I don't think trying to gain muscle is a healthy mentality to get in or be in forever. And I've talked about this a lot on the podcast, just body dysmorphia in general and getting like, you know, I don't know your exact situation, Evan, but maybe are you like 6'2", 145 pounds and like really need to gain some weight and it's hard for you? Or is it more like, you know, I'm 6 foot, I'm 195, but I want to be 230. You know, there's very difference in like legitimately whether or not you're a hard gainer, what you need. And I'm just going to assume that you are, but make sure the mental piece is there because as someone who did that, there was never a good enough, another big enough, strong enough. And so I had to just like cut all that out at a certain point. And that's why I moved to more performance-based training. So make sure that you're taking care of yourself mentally, I guess, is my biggest takeaway there. Now, getting into the actual tactics and strategies, I would say do not try and combine multiple things that you're either hearing from us or other places on the internet. Like if you're trying to do keto and also gain muscle, or if you're trying to do intermittent fasting and also gain muscle, you could find a lot of information saying that it's possible and you can do these things. But my recommendation is don't combine strategies. Just pick one. And you really just need to eat. So kind of like what you're like, is the answer just to eat more? Kind of. You need to eat a lot more. Carbohydrates are going to be your friend. Some body fat will come. You want to try and keep it as lean as possible. Some body fat will come with just excessive eating. That's why you're training so hard. You need to be training so hard. But another thing to pay attention to is how much protein you're getting every time you sit down to eat. I've talked about this on the podcast a good amount too, but to properly stimulate muscle protein synthesis for those gains, you need about 35 grams of high quality protein, or at least 2 grams of leucine, to make sure that you're getting the full amount of muscle protein synthesis that you would want. So what does that mean? That means that you need to hit that amount every time you eat. And I don't think you have to eat every 2 hours, but every time you do eat, make sure that you are getting that lean quality protein, not peanut butter sandwiches or some other crap. Like you need to be getting really good sources of protein. And don't be afraid of carbohydrates. Rolled and sprouted oats, I think, are a great place to add carbohydrates into shakes and things like that. But it really is a numbers game. You know, you make sure you get the most accurate to date, like either Whoop. I mean, I don't know of one better, Joe. You can, if you think so, but Whoop is probably the best calorie counter I know of because it's on every second of the day. It doesn't turn off. Everything else is an estimate. And so if you can measure your calories that precisely and then eat more than that, you know, you will be at a surplus. And that's what you're trying to do with gaining. You know, it's just the opposite of weight loss.
Yeah. And just to go back to kind of tie in yours and my point of changing up like exercise that you're doing is also changing up what you're eating, or in supplementation too. There was a guy that I used to work out with on active duty who was kind of a hard gainer, who was trying to get stronger but also bigger. But he knew every like cycle or so, 12 to 16 weeks, he would completely go supplement free for about 6 weeks or so, just to completely flush his body out of any supplements. And this is a time where he was probably taking all kinds of stuff. There was the pre-workout, post-workout, all that stuff. And he might only take protein or just worry about protein, and that was it. But it would completely wash his body clean of any supplementation that he was taking, and then go back on it. And even during his getting rid of the supplements, he had some gains, but then when he got back on the supplements or whatever, if you're taking some, then you can see a boost. But your body might just be using them as a crutch too much as well. But either way, it's good to kind of flush them out. Yeah,
and it depends. Like we've talked about this. I mean, creatine is a great way for me to gain like 20 pounds if I stay on it long enough. Yeah. So you could add, it could be a simple like add creatine, but I mean, that is adding some water weight. But again, it helps you lift more, which can help you gain more muscle. So some supplements can be looked at, but beyond supplementing protein and creatine, I don't think there's much else I would recommend for weight gain other than food.
Yeah.
Is that everything? Yeah, I think we're good. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's Ask Me Anything. If you guys have a question, go to garagegymathlete.com/AMA and we can get your question answered. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, leave us a comment, let us know what you think. And then, hey, whatever device, however you're listening to us, podcast, 5-star review, positive comment, it really helps us out and we would really appreciate it. And we would be forever grateful. That's it. Thanks for listening or watching. I hope you enjoyed today's Ask Me Anything episode. So one more time, if you want to submit a question, topic, or idea, you can do so at garagegymathlete.com/AMA. And hey, while you're there, if you haven't already, sign up for Garage Gym Athlete membership. We are the best community and programming on the internet. I dare you to try and prove me wrong.